Hello and welcome to the Entrepreneurial Musician from Hits Academy, a newsletter, coaching service, podcast, and blog preparing today's musicians for tomorrow's realities. Today's episode is titled, Why Not Quality and Quantity? Thank you to Parker Mouthpieces for providing the hosting for TEM. Parker Mouthpieces offers fine, customizable component mouthpieces for horn, trombone, euphonium, and tuba, including the Andrew Hits Artist Model Tuba Mouthpiece. You can find out more at parkermouthpieces.com or follow them on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. All right, a little behind the scenes look here. Recording TEM episodes tends to be like tying a tie for me, where 95% of the time it's done in one take, and I'm prepared and I write the thing out and it's good to go. The other 5 to 10%, we'll call it 7%. 93% of the time, it's one take with the tie. It's one take on recording this. The other 7% of the time, it takes like 17 takes to tie the tie. It's too long. It's too short. And I'm on take 5 here of recording this episode, which means that there's probably like another 13 to go. So this is almost surely not the take that is going to be used. Last week's Quartet of Ideas, the newsletter from TEM, was issue number 34, and the most clicked on link was to an article titled 30 Short Morning Habits to Start Your Day on Purpose. If I'm sharing a list like this with my audience, then the whole thing is going to be good, but there's usually one or a few that really jump out at me, and that's why I'm sharing it. And for me, it was number 2, number 6, number 13, and number 16. I would strongly encourage you to check this out. I love just like the starting your day on purpose. That was what got me to click on it initially. You can go to tem.fm/newsletter where you can see episode 34. It's not an episode, Hits. It's an issue. Issue 34 of the Quartet of Ideas, as well as the previous 33. And you can also sign up. You can subscribe at absolutely any time. And I'll never share your email address and name with anyone else, no matter how much money they give me, because I'm not an awful human being. Hello to the new subscribers from this past week. I see you. You are appreciated. Okay. TEM307. Why not quality and quantity? Today's episode is going to start with a 2.5-minute clip from the latest episode of the Brass Junkies, which featured composer, teacher, and trumpet player Marcus Grant. What a remarkable person. He knocked me out, as you're going to hear in this clip. Huge chunks of this episode could have been a TEM episode, including this one that you're about to hear. Throughout the interview, he generously gave insights into his creative process and how he approaches the business side of his career. This clip starts with him giving pushback to the old adage of quality over quantity, and then hits a couple of other really great points all in this 2-minute clip. So here it is, a small chunk from the conversation that guest co-host Mike Nickens and I had with Marcus Grant in TBJ 217.
We underestimate the value of volume, and then that's reinforced in conversations like quality versus quantity and those types of things. No one ever asks, why not both? In order to be a musician, you need both. You can't just have a really great practice session and then, oh, great, now I'm a professional. It doesn't work that way. Mm-hmm. You also can't sit down and, especially not with a brass instrument, play until your face starts bleeding and then do that every single day, and then you'll be great. At some point, there's a diminishing returns. So I was able to, I had great teachers. I had great, I had a strong supportive family, and I was just really lucky to be in an environment that was conducive to having that understanding. So there was a really long period of time where I just wrote music because I enjoyed it. And, people, sometimes I'd be made fun of for it, sometimes I'd be told, oh yeah, this is cool, but I mean, this is never really going to be a thing, right? The get a real job thing that you hear oftentimes as musicians, do something that's going to pay your bills, with the assumption that it just would, I mean, similar to playing the trumpet, or to being a teacher, I've put thousands and thousands and thousands of hours towards writing music. And at the end of the day, that's what helped me to understand how to do it in a way that is efficient and effective. And I mean, once you do that, it's just a matter of being able to share that with people. And over time, again, the volume, in this case, volume of sharing allows people to recognize, most importantly, that you care about the craft and that you care about serving other people in the craft. But then, of course, among that comes that, oh, maybe you actually write a good piece here and there that people actually want to play. And so that's been a really meaningful process to me. I know it's worth bringing this into the interview, but the talk of like there's many people can write music, and I would add play an instrument and not really say something. That's what you were saying, Andrew, before we started recording here.
Yeah.
It's a phenomenon. Like we work so hard on perfecting the craft, but why? What's the overall point? Why would I want to become a professional trumpet player? Well, so that I can make music. If there's a statement that needs to be said, I want to have no boundaries that are going to stop me from being able to do that. And as a composer, that's kind of the way that I went about that. People notice that, they notice when you're trying to do something meaningful, and they're willing to embrace that.
Oh, I love it. I can listen to him talk for a long time. Why not both? Right? I've never heard this sentiment put this way. Of course, if you can only have one or the other, it's quality over quantity. But that's the thing, is that quality comes from quantity. So why not both? Why not celebrate both? I loved this. I loved how he put this. So that was that was like the main headline of that clip. And then I was like, but I can't cut this off. I need to play the next 2 minutes as well. A few other things that jumped out at me. Sometimes he was made fun of for composing, and people tried to talk him into a more traditional career path. And he was like, you're not like doing this for real, right? Two things here. One, people will come at you. I don't care how young you are. I don't care how old you are. I don't care where you start. If you start taking lessons with some fancy musician, or you don't know a single person who's taken a lesson in your life, all of the spectrums from one end to the other, people will have opinions, because the people that don't have the courage to create and share things tend to spend their time, rather than feeling inadequate, they spend their time coming at the people who actually do have the courage, because that's who's blowing their cover. And I'm talking about just to themselves. So people are going to come at you. Just be ready for that. But also, people are going to try to talk you out of becoming an artist. Or they'll try to talk you out of quitting the steady musical gig that you have to pursue your real passion within music. Or they'll try to talk you out of dropping out of college when you no longer need the doctorate that you started because your priorities have changed. Or they'll try to talk you out of quitting a college teaching job because you're not enjoying it. Don't listen to them. And these people are almost always well-intentioned. That is something that makes things actually really, really difficult, is that it would be easy to spot these people if they didn't have your best interests in mind. But the people who tend to feel comfortable giving you like big advice like this, tend to be family, tend to be close friends, tend to be close colleagues. And those are the people that are the hardest to not listen to. I'm really glad that Marcus did not listen to the people who were like, composing is not a real profession and you need to live indoors and eat food, because we would be robbed of some really great music. All right, 3 more takeaways here. The third one was, efficient and effective as a composer only happened via thousands and thousands of hours of him actually doing the thing, of him actually composing. Marcus didn't become efficient or effective through thinking about composing or through planning to compose, or he did it by actually composing. And actually, it's so, I cannot, I wish I had $1 for every single time that I said into the mic. And by the way, I keep repeating myself because I need to hear it. Maybe you got it the first time I said it, or from like 1,000 other places before. It's certainly not even remotely bordering on an original idea. But I have to keep hearing this like action, 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 rather than thinking about action, thinking about action, thinking about action. Because I'm really good at thinking about action. If you want somebody to help you brainstorm, I mean, this is why I do coaching for a living. If I may be blunt, I'm really, really good at it. I'm really good at giving ideas and like that. But that's the thing, is that you should not hire me for TEM coaching if you're not going to act on the advice. Or even if it's not my direct advice, if my direct advice isn't going to inspire this maybe tangential thing that I kind of unlocked for you, but it doesn't matter how much that breakthrough is, if it's just like in theory, then nothing is going to change. And then you're going to be like, I wasted my money on TEM coaching. And I'm not saying that no one ever, they've never told me, has ever afterwards said, I wasted my money because I did what you said and it was the wrong idea. But I know, because it's human nature. I've taught a lot of lessons from people too, where I'm like, okay, what could you wave a magic wand? What would you get better at the tuba? And then they tell me like, I want to be able to, play softly in the high register better. And then I'm like, you do A, then you do B over this period of time, then you do C. If you do this all every day for a month, then you are going to be way better. Do it for another 2 months after that. It's like, boom. And it takes a lot less time to maintain skills than to obtain skills. And then they go, that's really good. And then they work on it for like 2 days. And then guess what? The soft playing in the high register does not improve. So, and this goes for me as well. So he didn't get efficient or effective by thinking about it. That's really important. 2 more points. Number 4, sharing over and over again shows people that you care about your craft and about serving other people in that craft. That's 2 parts. That's really good. The best way to get people to care about your art is to care about your art enough to keep showing up with it in public, right? And so if the main issue, if someone is trying to hire, if they're looking for a teacher, the main issue is trust. Is this the best person to teach me drums? Is this the best person to teach my daughter drums? That's an even more acute, because if you're an adult and then it ends up being a bad fit, then you will go a different route. The worry is that you put your kid with somebody who's going to like sap their love of music, and then they're going to not just want to end lessons with the wrong person, but end them, period. Right? And so, trust is the hard part there. But if someone who is a teacher keeps showing up over and over and over again, showing how much they care, being generous, then the trust issue is not going to be a factor anymore, because you are doing your thing in public. So sharing over and over again. And again, this is not something that I sit quietly. I'm about to go and pick up my son at school in the Kiss and Ride line, because he goes straight to his piano lessons on Thursdays after school. While I'm sitting in that car, the heat index right now is 102 on September 7th. That is bad. I shut off my air conditioning so that it doesn't like get picked up by the mic, but I actually set an alarm on my phone to remind me to start the air conditioning again, because I'm leaving right after I'm done. And the house would have been like 90 degrees if I didn't. It's bad. Anyway, sitting there in line, I can't just brainstorm ways that teaching's important to me or that I can improve my teaching. If I don't actually iterate those ideas in public, then I'm not going to gain trust. And again, their trust is the biggest issue and it's not just for teaching. This goes for hiring a brass quintet for your wedding. This goes for collaborating with a composer. It's always trust is a major part of things. And then the last takeaway from this awesome clip from Marcus Grant is number 5, finding our why rather than simply perfecting our craft and not really saying anything. He talked about how he found his why by showing up over and over and over again. And there is a danger. Marcus referenced this. We were talking about this before we were rolling. Is that if you just focus on perfecting your craft, if you just focus on becoming a better teacher or a better trumpet player or a better at voice leading or all of these things. By the way, being really good at voice leading is really important if you are writing music that is tonal, right? Teaching well is an important skill to have to be a teacher. I mean, this is not really that deep of stuff, but the problem is that if you don't have a why, if you don't have an opinion, if you have a podcast and you're just stating facts and you don't actually have like a take, it's going to get no traction whatsoever. And you can look at that and be like, but I'm prepared and the facts are true. And it's like, well, yeah, but people want they want a personality. They want an opinion. They want a take. Some people will hear it and they'll be like, that guy sucks. Believe it or not, it's hard to believe, I know, but there are some people who have heard the Brass Junkies and are like, ew. And there are some people who have heard TEM and like, how does this guy have anyone who ever listens to it? But that's actually good. Okay, we have to get a voice, because then people will have an opinion about our songs, about our playing, about our teaching, about our YouTube channel, and that's what we need. Because if I just see your thing and it's nice, like I'll root for you, but I'm not gonna then like tell my best friend Russell, be like, dude, you have to check out this, like, this YouTube channel. And he'll be like, oh, is it really great? And I'm like, no, it's just pretty good. And be like, what? Like, why are you telling me to check out this? It's like, the playing is like, it's pretty good. It's a little vanilla, but you should check it out. And he's like, but why? The whole internet is at my fingertips, right? Like, the entire internet is at my fingertips. Basically every book ever written throughout human history is available to me right now. I can even just press play and have someone read it to me. And so I'm not going to recommend a video, a channel, a song, an album without me having a strong opinion about it. And the only way to do that is through getting a voice, right? And then so don't just perfect your craft. And I'll close with this: that perfecting your craft is just that's the cost of doing business. Like, you have to be great at composing if you're a composer. You have to be great at tuba playing if you're a tuba player. You have to be great at teaching if you're a teacher. But then it's like, okay, well, what do you do with those skills once you have them? All right. This week's quote is from #1 New York Times bestselling author Angie Thomas. This is awesome. Dear writer, the doubt never goes away, no matter how successful you are. So why not write anyway? Signed, your future readers. This is coming from someone, #1 New York Times bestselling author. That is the top of the highest mountaintop for an author. You cannot climb any higher in terms of like being chosen and, recall to last week, like to getting a seat at the table, right? Being invited to the table. They clear a seat for you fast when you're a #1 New York Times bestselling author. And that goes in front of your name every time you're mentioned on a podcast for the rest of your life, every time that you're interviewed somewhere for the rest of your life, every time you write another book. And Angie Thomas herself is saying the doubt never goes away. There's no level of success that's going to make the doubt go away. So why not write anyways, right? Doubt is a constant. So is traffic here in Washington, D.C. I can just plan for the traffic, or I could just justify never leaving my house, which actually this analogy backfired because it's actually kind of nice. But you don't understand what I'm saying, right? I have to just deal with the traffic. We got to deal with the doubt. It's never going to go away. So if you're waiting for the doubt to go away, you're going to keep waiting, and then you're just going to think about things. So Marcus Grant, thank you. That whole interview is awesome. It is not really brass heavy. He's talking, so even if you're a non-brass player, I recommend that one. It's really great. And Mike Nickens, who's a former TEM guest, been on the Brass Junkies a couple of times. He's fabulous. As in fact, it was I clipped it, but it was his question and comments that got Marcus on that answer that you just heard. And so he was great. I really what a wonderful way to spend a morning talking to those two. Thank you very much for listening to TEM, for leaving a rating and a review on Apple Podcasts, for subscribing to the YouTube channel. For a huge shout out to my Patreon patrons, patreon.com/TEM podcast. There's a lot of expenses that are associated with this, and it takes a lot of time. And I have to shut off my air conditioning. My life is hard. No, I appreciate it. All of you. And even if you're just listening, and for your attention, the most valuable commodity any of us have to give. Thank you very much. And I will see you next week. That's going to do it for another episode of The Entrepreneurial Musician. Thank you.